Hello and welcome to my YouTube video. My name is Chuck Holmes. I'm the founder of PartTimeCommander.com. In today's video, I'm going to share my story, my experience with an Army bonus recoupment, talk about some lessons learned, and hopefully give you some valuable tips in case this is something you have to go through at some point. As a quick disclaimer up front, I'm in no way affiliated with the military or government at this point in my life. This information is for educational purposes only. Please consult with the JAG or the current regulations to determine if any of this information is still valid. And keep in mind, I am not a lawyer, to all my lawyer friends out there, and this is not legal advice. This is what we're going to talk about in today's training. We're going to cover my story of going through the Army bonus recruitment, the dreaded letter, my reaction and response, my appeal, the final results, some lessons learned, and then we're going to go to conclusion and sum everything up. So this is my story, and I'm just going to summarize this. You can read as we go along. I don't like to read slides verbatim. I joined the National Guard in May 2005 after coming off active duty. When I first joined the Guard in 2005, I received a $6,000 bonus for 3 years. I had no issues with that bonus. I was paid the amount of money. I did my time honorably, no issues. Then about in 2008, the Army was having a shortage of officers in my ranks and my specialty, and they were offering what was called the Critical Skills Retention Bonus. And for that, they offered us $20,000 to do an additional 3 years. Now, keep in mind, at this point, I was really thinking about getting out. I had done my time. I was at a better spot in my life. My business was just starting to take off. I own a business, and I was doing the Guard part-time. I had just got back from Kosovo from a long deployment for like a 16, 17-month deployment. And this paperwork, this bonus opportunity, it was really, the money did draw me in. I'll be the first to admit that. I really could have used that extra cash. I mean, who couldn't use an extra 20,000 bucks? So I decided to do it. I decided to sign the paper. I did my additional 3 years. Did my time in command, got promoted to major during that time, got the position as a regimental S3, finished command successfully. And then what happened is I resigned, transferred to the IR, and eventually got out. Now, about this time in 2011, after that 3 years was up, I was wondering where the second part of my bonus was, that last $10,000. They paid me $10,000 up front. I was supposed to receive $10,000 on the back end. Well, guess what? I never got it. So I started making some phone calls like most normal average people would do, trying to find out what was going on with my bonus. Come to find out, my bonus was denied. Now, as a backfill, I want to just throw this out there. About this time, there were a lot of fraudulent contracts going on in the National Guard in California, in many different states. And as a result, NGB was doing an audit during this time of a lot of these bonuses that officers and NCOs and soldiers were getting for whatever qualification, whatever reason. And they were doing the audit, and they were freezing a lot of payments, and they were doing inquiries and research on a lot of these. And mine happened to fall into that pile. So around June 9th, 2011, I received a certified letter in the mail from the 5th Regiment Armory. Now, I can tell you, in my life, I've only received 2 certified letters. One was for a divorce, which is never good. And number 2 was for this. So I didn't think it was something good when I got it. And this is what the letter said. You are hereby notified to have been terminated from the Critical Skill Retention Bonus participation effective 24 April 2008 due to the following reason. Officer signed for the $20,000 bonus addendum while still serving on a 3-year officer affiliation bonus. Paragraph 6A of the CRSB policy stipulates that service members must have completed any contractual obligation as a result of participation in the officer accession of the affiliation bonus. That's like a tongue twister just reading it. It's making my heart palpitate just thinking about this again. This is what the letter also said. You are in debt to the U.S. government for $10,000. You are requested to submit a cash repayment. Please make cashier's check or money order payable to the U.S. Treasury. A couple things about this make me laugh. First of all, who's got $10,000 cash just sitting around to pay back to the government? Another thing, when the government owes you money, they are slow to give it to you, but when you owe them money, they are quick to get their money back. They want to dip their little fingers in that cookie jar. So my reaction, first of all, I think my blood pressure went up about 400 points, if that's possible. I was livid, to be honest with you. I was angry, and this is why I was really angry. I had fulfilled my entire 3 years honorably, no issues, never flagged, did my time, got promoted during that time, resigned, completed everything according to the contract. What it turns out that happened was there was an administrative error on behalf of the S1 when they submitted my bonus. They submitted it 1 month early. So my other bonus, they submitted this while my other bonus was still effective. I had basically 1 month left. They were supposed to wait until the day that bonus was expired and submit it the next day. They submitted it early, which is what caused this audit, which is what caused this money being taken from me. So after I received this letter in the mail, I made a few calls to the headquarters office in the state of Maryland. I didn't get much help. As a result, I decided to contact a civilian attorney just to get some advice, kind of see what my options were. Yeah, my blood pressure is going up again just thinking about this. So what I found out was that the state of Maryland, they did a request for exception policy to the National Guard Bureau, claiming that my bonus was messed up because of an administrative error on the S1 part, and that I met all other qualifications and that I should receive my bonus. Now, despite the fact that they did this for me on my behalf, which I never even knew was going on, that was denied by National Guard Bureau. So even with good supporting documentation, my request for the exception to policy was denied. Folks, for the average person, this would stress them out. I was fortunate that I was a major. I was fortunate that I was a good writer. I was fortunate that I was stubborn. I'm one of those nice guys. I can tolerate a lot, but at some point my bullshit meter goes off and you don't want to really get to that point. So at this point, I was really angry. I just didn't know how they could overturn my bonus payment after I served my time honorably. Now, let's just think about this for a second. If I was 1 month into my contract and they told me there was an issue and I was not eligible for it, and they gave me the option to get out then, I would have been okay with that. I probably would have done that. I would have said, you know what? Keep your money. I'll give you that $10,000 back you just gave me a couple of weeks ago, and I'll be done. I'll get out. I'll move along. But to tell me after I did the 3 years that there was an issue, that really makes me angry, to be honest. Even if they would have hit me up a year into it and said, hey, we messed up. We sent in your paperwork early. No, nothing is your fault. We just messed up and we want to make it right. I would have been pretty flexible. I would have explored my options and kind of gone with the flow a little bit better. So what happens is once you have been turned down for a exception to policy, you have one opportunity to go before the Army Board of Correction of Military Records. That acronym is ABCMR. This is basically your last chance of the Army hearing your case with a bonus recoupment. So I prepared my packet. I filled out the DA Form 149. I prepared a letter, and this is the exact wording my letter said. It said, my name is Charles Holmes. The purpose of this letter is to address the facts in my critical skills retention bonus case and to appeal the findings of the National Guard Bureau. I hope you will review the information below and consider my case. On 24 April 2008, I signed the critical skills retention bonus contract, extending my obligation to the Maryland Army National Guard for 3 years. My contract was filled out by my battalion S1 section and submitted to the Maryland Army National Guard Education Office for processing. My contract was approved, and I received my first payment of $10,000 shortly thereafter. According to the contract, I would receive the second half of the bonus upon completing the additional 3 years. After finishing my 3-year contract, 2 of those years were in company command. I separated from the Maryland Army National Guard on the 24th of April, 2011, and transitioned to the IRR. At that point in time, I had already completed my 3-year contract with the Maryland Army National Guard and was awaiting my second payment of $10,000. I expected to receive the payment on or about the 24th of April, 2011. After waiting a few weeks, I called the Maryland Army National Guard Education Office to verify the status of my payment. At this point, I was informed by the Education Office that my payment was delayed because NGB was reviewing all contracts prior to releasing funds. Apparently, my payment was initially denied, and the Maryland Army National Guard had to submit a request for exception to policy to the National Guard Bureau for my contract. On the 28th of April, 2011, the Maryland Army National Guard Education Services Officer submitted a request for exception to policy stating that Major Holmes signed for the CSRB 1 month prior to being eligible. He had an officer affiliate bonus obligation that did not end until 24 May 2008. Therefore, his CSRB should have not been initiated until 24 May 2008. At which time Major Holmes was fully eligible. He goes on to say that due to an administrative error executed by the Maryland State Incentive Manager, the CSRB was approved on 24 April 2008, and the installment was paid. He closes by saying that the error was not on part of the soldier, and he should not be penalized. This is the continuation of this letter. On 28 April 2011, the Maryland Army National Guard G1 office submitted an exception of policy to NGB for the final $10,000 payment of my $20,000 bonus. In his letter, he stated that due to an administrative error, the bonus was processed 30 days prior to the eligibility date, and the officer was paid the first installment of the bonus. On 12 May 2011, the National Guard Bureau reviewed the exception of policy and denied the release of my second $10,000 and determined that I was ineligible to receive the CSRB to begin with. On 14 June 2011, the Maryland Army National Guard Education Services Officer mailed a certified letter to my home of record to tell me the results of the NGB decision. The next day, 15 June 2011, the Postal Service delivered the CSRB letter from the Maryland Army National Guard Education Services Officer stating that my contract was terminated and that I am in debt to the government for $10,000. When I received the letter, I was shocked. This was the first time I had ever heard there was an issue with my contract. At no point during the 3 years did anyone tell me there was a problem with my contract. If they would have, I would have addressed the issue immediately. Had my CSRB contract been rejected initially, I would have left the military to become a civilian and would not have spent the next 3 years in the Maryland Army National Guard. Those extra 3 years included non-paid training days and personal sacrifices. In my opinion, to tell me that a contract is invalid after the contract is complete is completely unacceptable. I fulfilled all required duties of my contract. The reason for denial was due to an administrative error on the part of the processing officers. I believe I should receive my final $10,000 payment because I fulfilled my obligations honorably. I asked the Army National Guard to do the same thing and fulfill their end of the contract. After reading my case, I ask you to overturn the National Guard Bureau's decision and to grant approval of my appeal. I'm asking you to approve my appeal and release the second $10,000 payment of my bonus. If you were in a similar situation, I'm sure you would feel exactly as I do. Thanks for reading my request. Sorry to read all that, but I think it's going to be of value as we continue to go through this. Now, let's talk about the results. I typed up that letter. I sent it in. I did a few Hail Marys. I said a couple prayers. I said, you know, I hope there's still good people at the Army Corrections Board that do the right thing and realize when something is right, it needs to be fixed. And if something is wrong, that's a different story. So the entire review board process lasted another 6 to 10 months before I received any documentation back. So there was a waiting game. We know the Army and the government in general doesn't move fast. Fortunately, the Army Review Board overturned the decision and they voted in my favor. However, it did take 2 years to get that second payment, and it was a constant battle. So 2 years from the time I basically appealed after they found in my favor to get the payment. And once again, this experience left a negative impression in my mind about the military. I'm sure it would for you too, if you were in the same boat. It cemented my decision to resign and remain a civilian. So here's some lessons learned from this. And hopefully, if you're going through a bonus recoupment or one of your soldiers is, these are some tips that can hopefully help you through the process. The first one, you have to keep good documentation. You want to make sure your I Love Me book is updated. You want to have records of all your contracts, all your schools. Even if your documentation is accurate, you never know if it'll get lost by higher headquarters or somewhere in a submission process. Number two, you need to know your rights. You have rights as a soldier, as an NCO, as a service member, even as an officer. Educate yourself about the rules and procedures so you know what you can and cannot do. You have JAG, they are a dial away. You have senior officers and NCOs that you can pick their mind. You have videos like this you can learn from. You have regulations you can read. Take the time and learn what your rights are. You don't have to be an expert. but you need to go find the expert and find out where that information is. Number 3, when you need to fight, fight. If you know you are right, stand up and fight for yourself. Make sure you fight for your soldiers too. If your contract, if you know you intentionally did something wrong and you tried to defraud the government, that's on you. That's not on the government. But if you know you did the right thing, if you know you are eligible for a bonus and you fulfilled your obligations, I don't care how much time it takes or how much money it costs, you need to fight, because of principle alone, you did the right thing. The government messed up. You need to get it fixed. Number 4, when you need help, get it. If you are a young enlisted soldier going through this process, it might be 100% overwhelming. So if you need help, get with the JAG, get with your chain of command, get with a trusted peer, even get a civilian attorney if needed. It's better than not having one. I will tell you, it helped that I was a major and I had a strong writing background. It also helped that I was persistent and mentally tough. I was like a dog in the corner, backed into a corner. I was pissed and I was going to fight this. I was either going to win or die trying to get the money that the government owed me, not just because of the money, but because of the principle. I had fulfilled what I said I was going to do, and I expected the government to fulfill what they said they were going to do. Once again, I just want to throw this out there. I'm not mad at the Army. I'm not mad at any person. I'm not mad at the people who messed this up. I'm not mad at the people who denied it. My only intent is to help other people get through this process as seamlessly as possible so that they don't have to go through the things that I did. So in conclusion, the experience of going through an Army bonus recoupment, it's miserable. They say, as a rule of thumb in the military, don't mess with someone's spouse, don't mess with someone's money. When someone messes with your money, it causes drama, it causes issues, and rightfully so. If you ever find yourself in a situation where your bonus gets recouped and you know you're in the right, I just want to clarify this. If you know you're in the right and you did the right thing, you didn't forge anything, you didn't fake anything, you didn't lie about anything, you did what's right, you need to fight. On the other hand, if you made a mistake, an intentional mistake, and you tried to defraud the government to get a bonus you really weren't qualified for, there's no point even going through this process because you're not going to win. But if you know you did the right thing and you know that the government messed up, you got to fight. You owe it to yourself to fight to get that money back. Also, if a soldier's going through this and you need to coach them, you need to help your soldier out, especially the young enlisted guys and gals who don't have a lot of experience and to who that $10,000 is even more meaningful than to someone that was in my situation. Of course, the money was important to me too, but someone who's making, 5-10 times less, it's even more important to them. So I would love to hear from you in the comment section below. If you've ever gone through the bonus recoupment process, I would love to hear about your experience. What did you learn from it? Looking back, what did you do that you shouldn't have done? What did you not do that you should have done? What tips or suggestions could you save or recommend for people who are going through the same thing right now? Let's make this video go viral. Let's help everyone who's in this situation get their situation resolved favorably by knowing what they need to do and making it happen. So I want to thank you for watching this video. I know it's a little longer than most of my videos. My name is Chuck Holmes. I'm a former Army major. I'm a Bronze Star recipient, OIF and OEF veteran. I'm an author, a veteran, and a business coach, the founder of Part-Time Commander. We have a website. My website is designed for small unit leaders in the National Guard and Army Reserve. This is soldiers, NCOs, officers, warrant officers, spouses, veterans, and aspiring soldiers who are going to be in a small unit in the National Guard or Army Reserve. I provide leadership tips, training, courses, ebooks, videos, things to help you be a better leader, have a more fulfilling career. Make sure that you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my video, leave a comment below. You can also check out the links in the description box below this video to get more information on this topic. I appreciate you watching. Thank you for that. Also, thank you for your service. Have a fantastic day.